Hi, everyone. It's Lynn from Devine Central, and I am here today to ask you, would you like to become a better storyteller? Now, I'm going to show you how to do that today in the following exercise, but let me forewarn you, it's not going to be glamorous and it's not going to be mystical. And you know what? It's probably not going to be all that intuitive either. But I guarantee you, if you practice this exercise, it will absolutely, I guarantee you, improve your storytelling tenfold. Okay, what is the trick? You have to train your brain. So we have this amazing brain full of all of this information. And then we lay these cards out in front of us. We look at them. And the first thing that happens is we see this picture, or I call it a movie, playing in the back of my forehead or my third eye. And some of us think it's just, call it what you want. It could be your imagination. It could be daydreaming. It could be your intuition. Those of us that believe that our readings are spirit driven, it could be spirit that's playing that movie in your head saying, here's where I want to take you. Whatever it is, it's the first thing that's conjured up. And unfortunately, our brains, until they're trained, they don't really know how to process it into a story until you set that intention within yourself, and then you allow yourself to stop and continuously see that story playing in the back of your head, and then you get it out, right, verbally. So if you do this often enough, your brain will get used to seeing things in a storyline fashion, and you will go from a 15-second 3-card reading to a 3-minute 3-card reading, or a 13-minute 3-card reading. Okay, I'm going to switch screens. Let me do that for you. Okay, so I'm going to run through the process, and I'll tell you why. Because I just see so much done in theory. I don't see anybody taking a newbie's hand and walking them through the process. What I'm going to show you here is not new. It's not even different, but it's maybe just my way of looking at it just might be helpful to somebody who, maybe didn't catch it with some other video. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take these 3 cards. Now, I pulled them at random. I didn't really like them. I was going to switch cards, and then I decided, wait a minute, isn't that the whole point of the thing? Is when you can't like readily see the story jump out and bite you, trying to grow and build that story with the cards that you're dealt, isn't that like the whole point? So I decided to keep these first 3 cards that I pulled. We have the King of Pentacles, the Two of Swords, and we have the Four of Cups. So we want to come up with, I'm going to say 5, well, first things first, we're going to read in a linear fashion, okay? It's going to be the subject or the noun. We're going to have the action or the verb, and then we're going to have the descriptor, or describe the situation or the subject or the action that's taking place. So we need to come up with 5 keywords or key phrases, however, whatever you see fit, to list for each one of these items. Now, I just used international or artificial intelligence. I just think it's so much fun. I go to platform.ai or openai.com/playground, and I typed in, give me 5 nouns for the King of Pentacles tarot card. And then I push the submit button at the bottom. I think you have to sign up for this, but it's free. And it automatically gave me 5 items. So I came over here and I did change them up a little bit, but I didn't want to pull them from my own personal journal. I wanted to have to work for this, right? So you can get them from the little white book, from your journal, from the online, wherever you want. But in this particular case, we got stability, abundance, success, wealth, and security. Okay. I asked AI the same thing with the Two of Swords. Give me 5 actionable keywords. And this is what it gave me. I did the same thing with the Four of Cups. I said, give me 5 words that describe the Four of Cups. And this is what it gave me. Okay. So if we start out with mixing and matching these different keywords, we can start telling different stories. So let's start with picking 3. So stability, struggle, and unmotivated. Okay. So let's do this without a question. What do we see here? The first thing in my mind is I see a stable man. And, it could be a woman, it could be all kinds of things, but we have no context here. So I look at this card and I see a man and I see the subject is stability. So I'm thinking he's a stable man, right? That's easy enough. So the next one is struggle. So the Two of Swords has a lot of different meanings, but in this particular case, we're talking about struggle. So we have a stable man who's struggling. Well, what is he struggling with? Well, unmotivation. So, gosh, he must be unmotivated about something, right? I wonder what it is. Well, you'd have to pull a fourth card to ask that question. But if we're just going to read across, I would say an otherwise stable man is struggling with his lack of motivation. You can do that, right? Okay. And if that's all you can do in the beginning, that's enough. So let's move on and try a different one. So this time let's pick security and evade. And I really don't like that word. I prefer elude, but this is what it gave me. So this is what I'm going to use. And unresponsive. And again, let's come back with no question. So here we have a man who is secure and something is evading him. Is he evading something or is it evading him? We're not sure. So let's go to the descriptor. And, ooh, it's unresponsive. So something's evading him that's unresponsive. What could that be? Let your mind work on that. Let your mind percolate that. What I came up with was he felt secure in his ability to get a loan. Because remember, the pentacles can be about money and finances. But his feelings began to evade him due to the lack of response from the banker. So in my head, if I let the story play out, it's like, the banker's saying, I'll call you when I call you. I'm not real excited about giving you this loan. And all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, his security is eluding him, isn't it? Or evading him. It would be his feeling of security that he's, good enough to get that loan. And all of a sudden, what's happening? All right. So that's what happens when you start practicing. Those extra words, those extra scenes start to come out. Let's try another one. Okay. Let's use success and struggle and disinterest now. Okay. But this time, let's give it a question. There's a weird vibe at work. What's going on? Well, all right. So it is a work situation, right? So if we have a successful man, he must be the boss or the owner of the business, wouldn't you imagine? And he's struggling with something. Wonder what it is. He's struggling with disinterest. So is it his disinterest or is it somebody else's disinterest? Because maybe he grew and built this really successful business. And then all of a sudden, he's not as interested in it anymore. It's like he wants to move on to something else, but he's kind of torn. Now, it could be that, right? Well, that's all fine and good. There's no right or wrong answers here. But what popped up in my head in my movie was the owner worked hard to build a successful business, but he's struggling with whether or not he should let some of his employees go because lately they have been showing a serious lack of interest in their jobs. Okay. Now, again, that's the difference between starting out and practicing this over a long period of time. You start to grow that your brain just takes off on you and starts to process this stuff. Now, if you look at the Four of Cups, cups are an emotional card, right? They're about water, they're about emotion. And if we look at the Two of Swords, sure, it can be about struggle, it can be about balance, it can also be about that tug and pull between head and heart, because we have the head, we have the logic in the swords, we have those swords crossing the heart, which is protecting the heart. So, he could very well be very emotional about this issue of letting them go because they've been with him for a long time. Don't get me started. I could do 20 minutes on this just because I've practiced. Okay, let's try another one. Let's pick this time abundance and balance and detachment. Okay. So what do we come up with? Let's do it in context, right? Let's do a question. Can you give me insight into my daughter's failing marriage? All right. So what is the subject? Who is this about? It's certainly not about a father asking about his daughter's failed marriage, right? Because abundance. What does the father have? Abundance of advice? Get the hell out? I don't know. But I'm looking at this as if it's about a marriage, I'm seeing the man, the abundant man, as probably the husband. Okay. Now, he's obviously struggling with some kind of balance, right? Now, we know that the subject is basically about a marriage. So maybe there's an imbalance in the marriage. Go figure. All right. But he's detached. So has he become like really successful and he's just bored with the marriage and so he's detached or he's walking away? Well, that could very well be true, but it's not about him. It's about the daughter, right? The daughter's marriage. So what I came up with was her husband provides well for his family, but it comes at a price. And that price is not always being able to balance his work and his home life. In other words, he's not there enough for her. And while she appreciates their lifestyle, she can't help but feel lonely and detached. This isn't the fairy tale life that she had planned. Now, see, what I saw in my head when I thought my daughter's failing marriage, I'm thinking, gosh, she's got this really successful husband of hers. What's the problem? Or where's the problem? Well, the problem is the balance. And so you just start to build upon that. You do it in private and you do it out loud so that you can get used to doing this. I promise you, if you just whether you're just doing it on scratch paper for 15 minutes a day, or whether you journal all these and then go back and look at them again, you know, it's I'm trying to think of what else we could come up with here. So um, let's say we have a father, okay, because we're talking about a father, right? Let's say we have this father and he's trying to make a decision between two things, head and heart, right? Logic and emotion. And let's say that a young man comes to you and says, I would like to know if my father's going to fund my first year of college and I need advice or guidance. And what I would probably say to him is, well, gee, your father can certainly afford it. That's for sure. He's abundant, right? He can afford to do it. But he's really on the fence right now because he doesn't see you being motivated enough to do what he needs to do to spend that money, which would be get good grades, hunker down, make him proud. So my recommendation to you is you better find a way to show him that you are motivated and interested so that the money that he spends is going to be worthwhile, because that's the problem. That's what the father is fighting or working on right now mentally. So you need to help push him over the edge. Okay, so much for that. So let's summarize here. Okay, the first thing you have to do is train your brain. That means you have to do these on a regular basis. Don't pull more than 5 keywords or phrases because now it's just going to get too messy. So and go through as many of these exercises using all of them or only some of the keywords if you want to. But the more you do it, you're going to train your brain to complete the story. The second thing that you need to do is you need to trust that movie inside your head. Trust what you're seeing and probably trust the very first thing that pops into your mind and stop and let that movie play out. Now, it's going to be equally important that you train your brain to verbalize it. I mean, do you remember when you first started out? Oh, you could put this whole story together in your head, but God forbid you should have to speak it. You'd clam up and you wouldn't know how to do it. So get some quiet place where you can do that on your own. And then, of course, you got to practice. That's the way to do it. Now, if you'll indulge me for just 15 more seconds here, I just put up 2 new workbooks in my Etsy shop. One is the 3-card practice workbook. I have 100 spreads, and I also am giving you 100 readings or 100 interpretations. Now, mine are neither good nor bad, and nor will yours be. They are just simply a way for you to compare yours against somebody else's. Because in the beginning, we don't always have a lot of people to work with on this. The other thing is, one of my biggest problems ever was not being able to come up with enough questions. I would sit down to practice my cards, and I wouldn't be able to come up with anything. So I'd pack them up and go watch TV. Well, I have collected over the years more than 600, but this is the first 600, and I am giving them to you in a form that you can, it's a grid that you can print off on a sturdy paper like a cardstock, or I use photo paper, and then you can cut them up, put them in a cute little bag somewhere, and you'll always have questions to pull out. I use them to this day. All right, then. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like it you can so that other people can see it and find it. And also check out my Etsy shop and stop back and subscribe. Bye.